friends. Welcome back, and welcome back to me. As of course you'll know if you follow along with the channel, I've been pretty inconsistent with uploading. I have a good history with consistency, but a few life events recently have made it more difficult. But a few things have happened recently which have given me more time and more predictability in my schedule, and it's back to regular uploading. We go. I'm really excited about this, and I'm genuinely so happy to be able to get back into this, because making ASMR videos is a lot like consuming ASMR videos. At least for me it is. It's one of, if not the best part of my day. One of the best parts, if not the best part of my day. Because to record, I actually have to put myself in a calm state of mind and mood. And before I, record, I do a brief kind of meditative exercise, and I get to explore and learn something or be silly and stay relaxed. And so I really love making this. And more than that, of course, I love having an audience of people who I can connect with, who I can talk to and share my thoughts with and make friendships with, that value what I do and that use it to improve the quality of their life, by relaxing, entertainment, escapism, education, any of that. So one of the things that happened, I got my driving license very late. There are a lot of different factors. I was actually originally going to get it about a year ago, I think. And then COVID hit, and I wasn't able to get it because the NRMA, the company in Australia which is responsible for doing license tests, which allows you to drive by yourself on the road to get your provisional license, shut down because you couldn't get two people isolated in a car together. I mean, that is not responsible within the situation, so they shut down for ages. I wasn't able to do my test, neither was anyone else, and so I had to wait it out, basically. So I got my license. My work schedule has become a lot more predictable, and it's around 2 to 3 shifts per week instead of 4 to 5. It's also an hour less each time. Also, I've set up my recording space so that I can predictably record and not have to set it up every single time, which actually takes ages. I know this looks like a relatively simple setup, but it's a bit more than you see, and it takes a while to get the lighting right. I'm still a bit of a noob, but look, to explain it, I've got my table here. I've got an iPad. Let me see if I can. This is the waveform of me speaking to you right now. I hope I didn't bump anything then. I've got my camera, which is a Canon DSLR. It's a 70D. I've got one light here and one light here. You have like a key light and like kind of a fill light to create kind of a different lighting setup. And then I've also got 2 large, really powerful lights, one there and one there, and they are lighting up the green screen behind me to make it a solid colour. So when I chroma key or when I key out the green screen, it doesn't leave a fuzzy, glitching looking kind of remnant around my body, because I'm able to slide up and accurately select one specific colour. So there's a lot of stuff, and it takes a while, and this is all in my bedroom. And it's a lot of space. What I used to do was set the entire room up, and then when I want to go to sleep at night, pack everything away, and then get my bed down. I actually sleep on something called a Japanese futon, which is like about 10 to 14 centimeters thick. It's not like a Western futon like that you're thinking perhaps, but it's what a lot of people in Japan sleep on. It's like a flat mattress that's designed to be slept on, not as a couch. And I sleep on that on top of a tatami mat on the ground, and then that means I can fold it up and put it on top of my wardrobe in the day and turn this into a bit of a recording studio. However, what I've done is I've moved my desk along and I've put my bed and everything, up there, but now, because I've moved my desk, I've moved the green screen, I've moved all the props and everything in the table in front of me over. So now there's actually enough room in this room for me to put the bed down and keep my setup here. So that saved me about half an hour each time, which is almost the length of time it takes for me to record a video. So that's a bunch of time saved. I've also settled into university pretty well, and I'm getting the schedule, I'm getting how things work, and I'm adapting. And so now that I'm moving fast with everything, yes, the course is getting more difficult, but I'm able to produce these videos again. So hi, I hope you like that rambly introduction if you care for it. If not, if this is the first time that you're on my channel, welcome. It's not always long, rambly introductions, but there you go. I just wanted to update you guys. Now today, we are whispering about a topic which I was requested to read about. And I am honestly, personally very interested in learning about this. At university, in my previous course studying occupational therapy, I had one unit about Indigenous Australian culture, and I found it fascinating. One of the most unique and intricate and strange cultures in the world. One of the strangest cultures. Of course, that's objective, but I think to someone educated in a Western paradigm of thinking, it might be the most foreign. E.g., the idea that time is not necessarily linear in progression is pretty different from the Western perspective of time only being a linear thing. Ideas like that really separate Indigenous culture from a lot of other cultures and make it supremely interesting to study. Also because it's old. Indigenous Australian culture is the oldest living culture, meaning culture that still exists in the entire world. By far, no other culture even comes close, not even comparable. 60,000 years. That's insane. Anyway, I hope you're interested in the subject, or I hope you at least find this video relaxing. And let's get a start. Indigenous Australians. Indigenous Australians are people with familial heritage groups that lived in Australia before British colonisation. They included Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of Australia. The term Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, or the person's specific cultural group, their mob, is often preferred, though the terms First Nations of Australia, First Peoples of Australia, and First Australians are also increasingly common. So the mob, or their nation, I know the nation for my area, the Eora Nation is probably the most famous, but I hope perhaps we'll look into that specifically as well. The time of arrival evidence is a matter of debate among researchers. That's definitely true. The earliest conclusive human remains found in Australia are those of Mungo Man LM3 and Mungo Lady, which have been dated to around 50,000 years BP. I think that means before the present. Recent archaeological evidence from the analysis of charcoal and artifacts revealing human use suggest a date as early as 65,000 BP. Luminescence dating has suggested habitation in unknown land as far back as 60,000 years BP. Evidence of fires in southwest Victoria suggest human presence in Australia 120,000 years ago, although more research is required. When we start getting back to that far of a date, that's where my kind of knowledge stops. I know about the evidence where people debate about if it was 50 or 60,000 years ago, but I don't know much about before that. Genetic research has inferred a date of habitation as early as 80,000 years BP. Other estimates have ranged up to 100,000 years and 125,000 years BP. That would be insane. Seeing that a lot of the time, most people that I've seen think that humans only evolved 300,000 years ago. So that is, early. The population of Aboriginal Australians at the time of permanent European settlement is contentious and has been estimated between 318,000 and 1 million, with the distribution being similar to that of the current Australian population, the majority living in the southeast, centred along the Murray River. A population collapse principally from disease-followed European settlement, beginning with a smallpox epidemic spreading 3 years after the arrival of Europeans. Massacres and frontier conflicts involving European settlers also contributed to depopulation. The characterization of this violence as genocide is debated. A very contentious issue to bring up, but yeah. Regardless of the motives or who you ask, we know for a fact that lots of people died and lots of Indigenous Australians were killed en masse. Although there are a number of commonalities among the various Aboriginal peoples, there is also a great diversity among different communities and societies in Australia, each with its own mixture of cultures, customs and languages. In present-day Australia, these groups are further divided into local communities. At the time of initial European settlement, over 250 Aboriginal languages were spoken. 250. That's a lot. It is currently estimated that 120 to 145 of these remain in use, but only 13 of these are not considered endangered. Aboriginal people today mostly speak English, with Aboriginal phrases and words being added to create Australian Aboriginal English, which also has a tangible influence on Indigenous languages in the phonology and grammatical structure. The Australian census includes counts of Aboriginal peoples based on questions relating to individuals' self-identification as Aboriginal, Torres Strait Islander, or of both origins. As of the 30th of June 2016, the count was 798,365, which is 3.3% of Australia's population. Since 1995, the Australian Aboriginal flag and Torres Strait Islander flag have been among the official flags of Australia. Now we move to terminology, starting with variations. There are a number of appropriate terms to use when referring to Aboriginal peoples of Australia, but there is general agreement that it is important to respect the preferences of individuals, families, or communities and allow them to define what they are most comfortable with. As with any group, really, when referring to Aboriginal people. The word Aboriginal has been in the English language since at least the 16th century to mean first or earliest known Indigenous. It comes from the Latin word aborigines, derived from ab, which means from, origo, meaning origin, beginning. The term was used in Australia to describe its Aboriginal peoples as early as 1789. It became capitalised and was employed as the common name to refer to both Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, although today the latter are not included in the term. The term Aborigine, as opposed to Aboriginal, is disfavoured as being regarded as having colonialist connotations. While the term Indigenous Australians has grown since the 1980s, many Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples dislike it, feeling that it is too generic and removes their identity. However, the term has a practical application and can be used where appropriate. In recent years, First Nations, First Peoples, and First Australians have become more common. First Nations is considered the most acceptable by most people, being as specific as possible, for example, naming the language group such as Arent, demonym relating to geographic areas. The abbreviation ADSI for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people is considered disrespectful. See also below under regional groups section. Now, before we continue on with the rest, I think I'd like to say a few things and then we'll have a part 2 of this video. Part 1 is I want to thank everyone for sticking along with me, continuing to subscribe and watch my older videos even when I'm not uploading as much. I'd like to thank everyone who's been leaving kind and supportive comments. That's very lovely. And I'd like to say that I'm working really hard to be able to start solidly getting back into video production. I would bulk record some more videos today, but one of my lights is misbehaving and I have to find a special cord for it. Anyhow, I'm going to go and fix that. The other thing I wanted to say was that Indigenous Australians, and similar to some other cultures, have a way in which they view time and events and reality, in which it may be disrespectful for some people to see a photograph or a video of someone who is Indigenous, or even necessarily to talk about events within Indigenous culture. Because one of the reasons is because there's a view that time happens visualize it than a linear kind of flowing thing, and that when you bring up an event, you bring up a photo, it's like you've taken an aspect of the reality of that thing and you're making it happen at a current time. So, e.g., if you have a photo of someone who's deceased and you bring it up, it can be very emotional or it can be disrespectful. And it can be almost like, you've taken almost a part of their intangible essence, their soul or something like that, when you capture it with a camera. So if you're watching this for educational purposes, I would try to remember that, if you're ever going to do a PowerPoint or something like that on Indigenous Australians, I would start by addressing the audience and making sure that they know that perhaps you will talk about some things which some people who may be Indigenous may have problems with seeing. Like if you're going to present a video of early Indigenous Australians, I would give a warning, something like that. Anyway, I thought perhaps if someone was to find this video and wanted to learn something, that would be a good little thing to add in before the video ends. Thank you so much for watching. More videos to come very soon. I'm going to really try to start batch recording. The goal is to go back to consistent daily video uploads so that you can come here, find and learn something new, relax and sleep every day. At the moment, I'm not sure how possible that is, but I'm going to work really hard to make sure that within the next coming month, at least by the end of this month, there will be consistent daily uploads. But we'll see. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll really dig into the guts of this Wikipedia article and learn as much as we can next episode. But for now, this has been a little recap, saying hello, letting you know I'm still here. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you really, really soon. Bye, friends.